Okay. So I just seen a commercial that I thought was very interesting. Sitting up watching the game and whatnot, and it's a Nissan commercial, and I never really seen politics mixed with auto marketing, automotive industry marketing. We're talking about Nissan. I never have really seen this before. Someone else can maybe enlighten me. I have, I think, heard about it when it comes to the government at a certain time putting penalties on U.S. automakers who make cars that get below 15 miles per gallon or something. That was put on a while ago. That was done, but since then I haven't heard about or seen firsthand this where you got Nissan, the automaker, saying in their commercial that our products are tariff free. It's a tariff free. Our our products are built in America, tariff free. Blah blah blah. So I found this video and I'm just gonna sit up and review it. I'm gonna be off camera because that's what I want to do. But yeah, let's watch this and see what's going on, man, with these Trump auto tariffs and things. This video is from the Wall Street Journal. It's called Trump's Auto Tariffs, and then it says, we broke down a Ford F-150 to explain industry impact. Let's go.
Made in the United States is absolutely no tariff.
President Trump's auto tariffs are here, and that means
A 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, is absolutely no tariff.
but no car, not even a US-built Ford F-150, is 100% US made. Just look inside.
It's made up of thousands and thousands of parts. Those parts come from over 24 different countries.
Countries like Mexico, Canada, Romania. Trump wants these parts to say made in the US. But moving all of this is not so simple.
To lift and shift that whole thing, that's kind of like saying, oh, pick up the state of Maine and move it over to Wyoming. Could you do it? I suppose you could, but man, it would be tough duty.
So let's break it down to understand what Trump is trying to do with a slew of new tariffs and why automakers are warning it could backfire. This chart shows where cars sold in the US are coming from. All of these cars now face that 25% auto tariff. But this 53% of US-made cars is also affected by that tariff because of all of those foreign parts.
Some of the major components, this is for the Ford F-150. They have an alternator, create current. It's from Mexico. We have half shafts.
And just for some reference point, yes, my alternator in my 2000 Honda with almost 250,000 miles on it, it has an alternator. My alternator went out. Alternator that came in said, made in Mexico. So I can definitely vouch for that.
To the wheels from the drive.
As far as, bearings and motors, when you go to the HVAC, when you talk about ACs and blower motors and things like this, half of those parts in those things come from Mexico. Bearings especially, they're big with bearings in Mexico, manufacturing.
Driveline, they're from Canada. We have tires, of course, 5 of them. These come from Korea. Of course, you have to have wheels. In this case, a styled, tractive wheels. These all come from Mexico.
Those tires from South Korea would face that auto tariff and any reciprocal or universal tariff placed on the country. Those parts from Canada and Mexico, well, that's where it gets more complicated. Eventually, they would face that auto tariff, any reciprocal or universal tariff, and an additional Mexico-Canada tariff. But the White House said parts compliant with the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Trade Agreement, or USMCA, remain tariff-free until there is a process to apply tariffs to their non-U.S. content. And for some parts, like a transmission, there will be a lot of content to consider.
When you realize what goes into an automatic transmission, that's what this is. And so you can see this plethora of parts, gears, and seals, springs, fasteners, valves, and shafts, all these different parts. They can come from different suppliers, and those suppliers can be located pretty much anywhere in the world.
Take a look at this map showing how Canadian manufacturer Linamar creates transmissions for the US market today. It takes 7 border crossings before that part is in a car being sold in the US. These 3 crossings into the US would eventually face Trump's tariffs. And even if the manufacturing of all of this was moved into the US, this part, the raw steel, would still be subject to Trump's 25% tariff on imported steel and aluminum.
This is going to be disruptive on day one. It's going to increase the cost of doing business.
The total amount depends on the vehicle. A Cox Automotive estimate shows a car made in the US would incur $3,000 in cost from the Canada-Mexico tariffs, plus another $3,000 from the tariffs on foreign-made auto parts. Then research shows an added $400 for the steel and aluminum tariffs, and more for any reciprocal or universal tariffs.
And the car company or the automotive industry, they're not going to bite that bullet. I'm going to tell you right now, they are not going to bite this bullet. That, whatever is added on from that tariff, is going to be added on to the automotive industry's consumers.
Have you heard any concerns from the automakers, though, about the tariffs on parts that will go into effect over the coming weeks, about what that's going to mean for the price of
Well, I gave them a
American-made
big
cars?
break for a month. I didn't charge them anything, for a big month, for that first month. And they brought a lot of material into this country because they could bring it in without tariff.
But eventually, added production costs could change what cars buyers see on dealer lots.
You could see a stop in production of a number of vehicles, some of which are very important to some of the automakers.
Trump's goal, however, is to pressure automakers to make them in the US instead.
This is going to lead to the construction of a lot of plants.
And the White House said the duties on Canada and Mexico are also meant to disrupt the drug trade.
We've lost millions of people due to fentanyl. It comes mostly from China, but it comes through Mexico and it comes through Canada.
The trade group representing Ford, GM, and Stellantis said it's critical that tariffs are done in a way that preserves the competitiveness of the North American auto sector. North American is the key there. Because of the Trump-negotiated USMCA and NAFTA before it, automakers have essentially viewed these countries as borderless.
We have really built the industry around that free trade zone that's existed for so long.
It's why Mexico and Canada exported about $75 billion in passenger cars and more than $100 billion in auto parts to the US last year. So shrinking supply chains to just the US?
If you had to move production of a vehicle or even a complex system like an engine, a transmission, an axle, and you're making that in Canada or you're making that in Mexico and you just want to move the plant, that could be years.
Analysts say even shifting a foreign-made part to a US supplier can take months.
We have well-established, very detailed testing plans for every component on a vehicle, and we don't get to skip those just because we might want to or it might be easy, right? Because it's a safety and quality issue. It costs money and it costs lives when we get those things wrong.
So either choice, moving production or facing the tariffs, come with added costs, some of which economists say will be passed on to consumers. That will push up already elevated car prices. This could then tamp down demand and slow production.
If there's less production, there'll be less demand for...
But if you think about it, now let's think about this. You pay payments on a car and you pay it off. Why the fuck does the auto industry have to make a car every single year? Every Christmas, there's a new Ford F-150 getting marketed to you. Every year. It's like the iPhone. It's like Jordans. They got a new color wave every year. Why do cars have to be like this? If these cars, maintained correctly, can last much longer. Of course, they can't last as long as they used to, as we are starting to see. But why does the automotive industry... I feel like the automotive industry got fat. They got fat. They've been living high off the hog for a long time when it comes to the consumer valuing a new model vehicle in the year. You got a 2023 Ford F-150. And something about American culture makes the owner of that, after those years they got it paid off, the consumer aspect of America in the culture we live in, something about us tells us we need the 2025, the 2026. When the transmission is still clicking on that 2023. It just blows my mind. And you know, I'm driving a car that's 25 years old for a reason, man. I don't believe in this system, this automotive industry. I believe it's all bullshit. I will never drive a car with a 2,000-pound battery up under it. This doesn't register in my mind. I'm a little old school with it, but I mean, you can get where I'm coming from.
Workers in the North American auto industry. Even before you get the cut in profitability, there'll probably be a push for more labor-saving investment in U.S. production to try to compensate for the increased costs elsewhere in the production process.
That labor-saving investment, analysts say, will come in the form of automation.
When you move production to the U.S., you do it, because you need to be close, but it doesn't necessarily bring a lot of jobs with it. It brings a lot of automation.
But the United Auto Workers Union applauded Trump's tariff on foreign autos, adding it's now on the automakers to bring back good union jobs to the U.S. To make investments months or years into the future, automakers need
certainty and stability. They want it to be clear what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and why it's going to happen.
But automakers are still waiting for clarity on the extent and application of the various tariffs, especially after the pause and then temporary exemption from the Mexico-Canada tariffs.
And when it comes to that, if you're going to do something in which I do feel like with what Trump is trying to do, I feel like, yes, he may have an end goal to it, but some of these bridges that they're talking about when it comes to the manufacturing of a transmission assembly, axle, alternator, whatever it is, if you're going to put a tariff, you can't just put a blank statement on it and say, cars that aren't made in America are going to get a tariff. Okay, the car may not be put together in America, or it may not be put together in America, or if it is put together in America, well, shit, you still got 150 parts that come from all of these places, and there's quality control aspects of it in place where these things are tested before they're even put in the car. That's a whole nother layer. I feel like with something like this, there has to be a more detailed, you just can't say cars from ... such and such. Make that shit as detailed as possible. I understand what Trump is going. Like, yes, we want these jobs to come back to America. We want these plants and things to come back to America. But I can tell you right now, GM, Ford, and the big automakers in America, when those jobs come back, those aren't going to be people sitting there assembling these things. It's going to be a robot. Because that's where we at with technology. It's going to be, they're replacing people with robots when it comes to this stuff. So him even doing it is like, okay, so you're going to bring them back, but then the backlash to that from the auto company is going to be to put a robot in the place of the American body that you're trying to enhance or that you're trying to get back to. You think about the days of Detroit with the auto industry and just a booming wave of economics and the economy when it comes down to what Detroit was and what it is now. There's reasons behind that. And putting these tariffs is not going to make Detroit a thriving auto industry. It's not going to do it. It's going to make it a thriving technological industry where you have a bunch of robots doing jobs that the humans was doing. That's just my opinion, people.
Uncertainty of whether and how long these tariffs will stick around is creating real dollars waste in terms of warehousing and trucking, and call it soft waste, wasted time, wasted energy, wasted attention that could be better deployed building and designing the next vehicle, the next system.
That time spent debating if this alternator should continue to come from Mexico or this crossbeam from Canada is to some a distraction from the larger disruptors in the industry, namely the fast-moving Chinese competition. China is now the world's largest vehicle exporter.
Very tumultuous time in the industry, for sure. Things are changing faster than they ever did before. And at the end of the day, you have to remember, it's not the big that eat the small, it's the fast that eat the slow. And so, whatever you are, don't be the slowest. Move quick.
I feel they all need to slow down. They all need to slow down. Everybody, American culture needs to slow down. You don't need the 2025. Boycott every car made in the year. You don't. All right, I'm out. I ain't got to. I done said everything I had to say. I'm out, man. It's YJ.